Hello. Before we start today's episode, if you would like a condensed version of what I'm talking about in this podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the Perfectionist Guide. You can read the entire thing in 3 minutes or less. To access this, go to CourtneyLoveGavin.com/newsletter. Are you a bit of a perfectionist? Type A, hyper performer? Then you know that having the audacity to see an ideal and bring it into reality while breaking generational habits of hustle can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. If you are ready to burn bright instead of burning out, to lead without losing yourself, and to enjoy the life you have worked so hard to create, then keep listening. I'm your host, America's leader on rewiring perfectionism, CLG, and this is Perfectionism Rewired, the podcast. Welcome to Perfectionism Rewired. Today we are talking about why perfectionists plateau. This is actually an equal opportunity episode. If you have someone in your life that is at a plateau or is like, why can't I get past this? I thought I was past this. Or they just want to murder stagnation, this is the episode to send them. What I want you to imagine is a ladder. The left side of the ladder are your skills. The right side of the ladder, your character traits. And the rungs of the ladder, those are your beliefs. And there's a visual for today's episode. If you want to see this image that I created, sign up for the Perfectionist Guide. And it's also on Pinterest. Follow me on Pinterest. I'll drop a link in the show notes for my Pinterest. You can pin it, share it till your heart's content. Okay, most often, perfectionists are lopsided, really funky ladder going on. Because what I want you to imagine is like your skills. So the left side of the ladder, let's say that's as high as the 6th floor of a building. On the right side, your character traits, those are like at a 3rd story level. So you got a 6th story on the left, you got a 3rd story on the right as far as the height goes, and then your beliefs, you just have one rung going across it. Can you imagine that? You're really curious. You're like, why can't I get past this 3rd level? So your skills are the highest right now. You grow your skills from like the 6th floor to the 8th floor. Or maybe you concentrate on your character traits. So those get from the 3rd floor to the 4th floor. But you keep hitting the same walls and you can't get past the plateau because you don't adequately understand where your limitations are. This is where having that level of discernment and perspective of figuring out what is the actual obstacle, because perfectionists, we are experts at solving problems that aren't actually problems. Perfectionists keep fortifying a part of the ladder isn't what's actually going to make it so that you can climb and you can grow. I'm going to give you 3 steps you can uncover where your deficiencies are and how you can optimize them. Okay, so what are the steps so you can find your own deficiencies? You want to know where you're headed. You want to have specific, clearly defined outcomes. When you are vague on your targets, you will be vague on your results. They will be foggy. So let's say, for example, that you want to be less overwhelmed. That is super vague. How would you know that you are less overwhelmed is what I would ask you if we were coaching together. You want to be specific and explicit with the goal. So it's like, I want to not wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about what I need to get done. I want to be able to go to bed and fall asleep and stay asleep without a glass of wine. I want to be able to have a workout routine that I do 4 days a week without overworking. I want to delegate to my team so that I'm working in my zone of genius 80% of the time. See how specific that is? And this is why when we coach together one-on-one inside of the accelerator, the perfectionism game that you play is set up with exact targets that you are working towards every day, each week, and each quarter that stack on all 3 sides. So you're getting traction, you're having momentum, and you have a perfectly even and effective ladder. Okay, so step 1, know where you're headed. Step 2, you want to be ruthlessly honest about where you are now. I'm just going to go with the same example for this, but now that you have your clear, specific outcome, you want to look at where you are currently, and you want to do this in a ferociously honest way. I have something called fact maps that you will get to experience when you join the accelerator. When you are in the self-improvement space, it can be very alluring. Oh, I just want to be future focused. But it's like, we can't build a house in a swamp. And it's okay if you're a swamp right now, but let's drain the swamp and clean it up first. On your first session, we will build fact maps for all of the core pillars of your life. We want to uncover what the deficiencies are. So let's say you're the person who wants to be less overwhelmed. We're specific about what that target is. You want to be the person who delegates to their team, sleeps well, exercises, and is present with their family. Okay, here's what you do have going into it. The fact map isn't just like, oh, this is how shitty I am. The fact map also brings up assets that you didn't know that were assets. And any of your liabilities, we turn into assets. Here's what you do have going for you for our hypothetical example that we're just talking about in this episode. What you have going for you, you have a wealth of experience doing the work of 5 people. You're very high functioning despite having high stress and little sleep, and you are eager to change. Is that enough to achieve the goal? No, it's not. This is where a lot of times perfectionists get defeated. Like, why isn't it happening? And it's like, it's not happening because you need new techniques for stress. You also need to learn how to delegate without overwhelm. And there are also some key skills that you need to learn, like the skill of sleep. That's a skill, which we'll get into, the skill of relaxation. And when you are ruthlessly honest with yourself and when you do a fact map, you can be honest about, oh my gosh, I really have zero experience in being a good sleeper. I've never been a good sleeper my whole life. Or I don't have any experience on how to delegate without secretly micromanaging and worrying if they're going to get it done the whole time. Like, that right there is the deficiency. Unleveraged perfectionists, they tend to gloss over their shortcomings, ignore them, justify them, or pivot in a way that makes it easier for them, but also less effective towards achieving their goals. For example, I'm not good at relaxing as a skill, so it's very tempting for me to do everything except relax. I will subconsciously busy myself and or exhaust myself because I want to avoid the uncomfy of starting to relax, learning this new skill. But if my goal is that I want to be a present parent and partner, and I want to break the generational habits of hustle, and I don't want to be the overwhelmed, like I don't want overwhelmed to even exist in my life, and I want to be a strong example to my team, and I want to have more energy, then like that deficiency of not knowing how to relax, you want to face that head on. You don't want to ignore it. You don't want to be cute. And you don't want to just like pivot to make yourself feel better by like lying to yourself and being like, I'm relaxing, as you're like editing a slide deck while you're getting a massage. Now, the simplest way to uncover your deficiencies is to stop ignoring them. Look at the last 12 months of your life and the core pillars of prosperity, peace, presence, and person. You will totally be able to spot some obvious deficiencies. I bet that there were times where you chose a strategy that you knew deep down wouldn't work as well as something else, but it felt better to you because you didn't have to leave your comfort zone. Let's say you knew that joining the Perfectionism Rewired Accelerator would really help you, but you decided to get the 15th book on perfectionism that you've read because you just feel more comfortable not investing in yourself. This is not about trying to analyze and figure out why you have this deficiency in the first place. You will likely be really tempted to do so, but that is a deficiency in itself to procrastinate and to tell yourself that you're being smart and productive while you do that. Those questions of like, why do I do this? What's wrong with me? Why do I stop? No, you don't need to figure any of that out. It doesn't matter. That is only going to delay your progress. You want to replace all of that mental spinning with pure action and direction towards what you do want. Now, step 3, I'm going to give you examples of what common deficiencies are. Because a question I had when I came up with this analogy, I was like, well, what's the difference between a trait versus a belief versus a skill? Skill deficiencies are very in particular to what your targets are. Relaxing is a skill for perfectionists. You want to make sure that you're doing active and passive. You want to have 2 components to your relaxation. You want to have restoration and rejuvenation, because sitting there and doing nothing like doesn't work for us. Sleeping is also a skill. Delegation
is a skill. You know that you have a deficiency in a delegation skill. If you are so competent that you always rationalize, you're like, I'll just do it myself. It'll just be so much faster. Or you might have a scarcity mentality around spending money to get work done because you're like, why would I pay someone to do this when I can do it myself? Those are some examples of skill deficiencies. Trait deficiencies. Traits are like courage, decisiveness, resilience. They all play with each other. The trait of focus is linked to courage, decisiveness, and resilience. If you identify as a messy or procrastinator perfectionist, then you likely jump from project to project, idea to idea, building this Jenga tower that if you move one thing, it might all come crashing down, but you don't really get much traction or end up shipping anything. You also know that this is you if you always have multiple projects going because you're hedging your bets on yourself and you don't truly believe that a single one will work. See how this trait plays into the beliefs that we're going to get to next? Here's the amazing thing that happens once you optimize your focus. You close open loops. Because you're closing open loops, your energy increases. You also build massive momentum. You feel like you're making progress. And you are improving all over the place as a person with your presence, with your prosperity, and your inner peace. You also make more money because you're able to focus. You're not just like, oh, I didn't even realize I had $300 in monthly subscriptions. You also feel a lot less anxious and stressy because you have picked a path and you are executing on it. The last deficiency that we're going to cover, and this is the rungs of the ladder, are your belief deficiencies. Now, belief deficiencies bottleneck every other deficiency. And the example I gave at the beginning of the episode, we talked about how most perfectionists have really high skills, character traits that are like middle range, but the beliefs are low, low, low. You cannot overcome a skill deficiency unless you believe that you can. You also can't improve or optimize a character trait unless you believe that you can change. That's why on our ladder, they are handles and what goes in the middle. And I see this every day with perfectionists before they join the accelerator. They have all of this potential, but you're just unable to see it. That's why getting perspective and elevating your game is crucial. Some popular belief deficiencies for perfectionists are, I've never been someone that does that. I'm not the type of person who can do that. There's only one way that I can do this. A lot of like black and white thinking, like either do it all or nothing at all. Belief that things are harder for you because of a specific reason. The belief if you didn't complete it in a certain amount of time, you never will. Like a quick way to look at this and what we do inside the perfectionist game that we play inside the Perfectionist Accelerator is you can either have your results or you can have your reasons. And if you notice that you're coming up short on your results, look at your reasons. And those reasons are going to be traced back to beliefs that either you have about yourself, you have about someone like you, someone your age, someone in your position. Okay, so that is your ladder. If you realize that, oh my gosh, my character traits and my beliefs could really use some optimization. And maybe your goal is that you want to actually be able to enjoy this holiday season and to not be overwhelmed, or you really want to make some traction on these goals that you've had for yourself all year or several years and you haven't, then I invite you to apply to the Perfectionism Rewired Accelerator. It is a 6-week fast track to get you started in playing this perfectionism game. I have gotten some emails asked if I offer anything else. Yes, I do. I also offer longer term packages together. It's not just coaching. If you go on my website, I talk a lot more about it. There is an entire curriculum. There is a community. There is daily text accountability with me. There are energy assessments. There are live events. There are oodles and oodles of goodies that you get by being part of the Perfectionism Rewired community. I'm telling you, once you get this figured out, it makes it so that you will no longer plateau. Like now, you can never say that you don't understand why you're stuck. Now you know. Now it's just all about uncovering those deficiencies and optimizing them. The best place to get your perfectionism optimized and rewired is through working with me. To learn more about that, go to CourtneyLoveGavin.com.